B1 brothers and sisters, welcome to Blacklogic. So this afternoon, I kind of wanted to just go down and do a review of the interview I had with P Rae Easley, also known as Chicago Red on the channel, because I know that in some instances, some people were asking me why didn't I ask other challenging questions, or why didn't I debate her or refute or rebunk her on many occasions with my stance when it comes to Black empowerment and how we assist, support the whole collective of Black people, and not just maybe a said group or even from personal values, but you broadcast your platform as though you're speaking or you're trying to empower all Black people, where it may be more personal than it is national. And I'm not stating that, that was her agenda or not, or just having Black people to vote for Trump. My stance here, Black empowerment, we're standing on reparations, because these little insignificant, bystanders, or haphazardly it falls our way because on the dominant society and in other prominent societies, and also model minorities, they can receive these benefits more so than we can. This because HBCUs have been written a federal budget line, and they will consistently receive that money. That's money that's already owed to us in the first place, right? So some of these trinkets or these signs that politicians in general are helping Black folk, helping Black folk, is a facade. It's fake. Because we've seen this time and time again. We've seen this over and over again, where they hang these trinkets or they hang these very weak signs of their support for Black folk just to get our vote every 4 years. And we've been falling for it, right? And we've been falling for nothing burgers for a very long time. And it's time that we stop falling for it. So now they want us to go from one plantation to another. They want us to go from the liberal Democratic plantation, the Dixiecrat plantation, over to the Republic Klansman plantation. That is what they want us to do. And then it's like, what are we standing on? Are we standing on business? Or we're standing on who's the best slave master at the time? I'm just asking questions. I'm just really asking questions on that. Because I guess here, family, I think I would like to highlight some areas where P Rae Easley and I found maybe some common ground, because we both emphasize the importance of the equal rights that Black people should have in general on that particular occasion. I know she was trying to branch off into not just being a Republican, but being a MAGA Republican, or some sort of for, Donald Trump. So the instance of conservatism, I think we agree on when it comes to, believe it or not, a lot of Black folk have free enterprise perspectives and building our own and working for self. That's why a lot of Black people are probably not happy at their jobs, because you look at yourself as a small business. You may not know what you want to do. You just know that you want to work for self. You rather get the bag yourself. And instead of taking orders where people really don't appreciate you. Some of them don't even probably want you there. So I understand that. Now, I guess when we get into some of the particular regarding, President Donald Trump, I know P Rae Easley, she expressed a very favorable view of Trump's policy, right? Things that he did for tax cuts, HBCUs, lowered corporate complex tax, and provided temporary relief for individuals. And also, I think if I'm not mistaken, he's probably the best case we have of getting reparations. I don't know that to be true, because my past history, I believe that President Barack Obama was going to do something significantly that targeted Black Americans, and not just the leftovers, not just the residue of it all. But that didn't occur. Now, of course, if you're a small business owner, certain aspects of Trump's economic policies had some short-term benefits, had some long-term benefits, depending on how you structure um, your business organization, right? S corp, C corp, LLC, etc. So I understand it's very crucial for a lot of people to look at certain people's stances when it comes to black folk voting for Donald Trump or the Republicans in sense to consider the long term implications. And I know a lot of people they have this unction, this oh I just need to really go out and vote because when you look back at the civil rights era, it seems as though that's the only thing that our people are fighting for, and you want to honor the ancestors. And I get that. But I can tell you this, family, neither one has yet to utter or speak that they will give what is owed to foundational Black Americans with reparations. And here's the thing, I always, anytime a Black person speak about reparations on the internet, there's always these white supremacists in the comments saying, get off your lazy butt and do this, that, and the other. And they don't look at it as a debt that is owed. Because if somebody owe you some money, you're not going to tell that person, don't worry about the money that you are owed. Just get off your lazy butt and just go make up what was lost. No, that's stupid. That's idiotic. Nobody would do that. If you owe me, you owe me. Oh, you owe my father, now you owe me. And when I die, if I don't receive the money, then you owe it to my son. But we're gonna get reparations. See, that's what I think a lot of people are not understanding. It's a debt. It's not a handout. It's not a big. It's not welfare. It's not DEI. It's not affirmative actions. It's not civil rights. It's a debt for the work that our ancestors have done. And that's just the first initial part of it. So I guess when we look at this interview, and we're gonna just take a small little glance at the interview here, family, so we can go over some of the questions that I asked, and you guys can kind of see my response on it. Okay, you guys can kind of see my response on it. Let me make sure I have this up in queue. Give me a second here. All right. Then essentially they are pushing illegal immigration because
Yes.
that's an incentive to come over here as an illegal. So I'll say it for you.
Mhm.
All right. Now I know that some may argue that um, illegal immigration, and this is the argument that some people have, that illegal immigration doesn't significantly harm Black Americans, but rather fill jobs that others are willing to do. So what is your perspective on that?
I think that we are not making this up. Frederick Douglass was talking about the same thing in the 1830s. 100, 200 years ago, Negroes were having the same conversations. Okay. So this is not a new concept for us. Yes, they're out there picking the produce, but you know who else could pick that produce? Able bodied welfare recipients. You know who else could pick that produce? Prisoners who are now sitting in jail with iPads making TikToks and going on live. We have more than enough Americans here to do that work. But they, again, have these stipulations to push poor Black people out of the workforce. I'll use Mississippi as an example. They have a lot of chicken factories down there. They fired in the Tyson factory. We're boycotting Tyson right now, but they fired all the Americans. And then
now, are some of you guys familiar with the Tyson's chicken boycott? Are you guys familiar with that? I've been familiar with it for probably about a month. And I know there's a lot of protesting going on certain products and produce and agriculture, but that was one of those neutral points. Okay. Now, of course, if all Black people get on code and boycotting Tyson's chicken probably go out of business. So I'm not saying that the cost is unworthy. I'm just trying to get to a point where there's some idealists about the way that Black Americans should go. We're not just getting what we're owed, but kind of weakening or revoking the rights that police officers have under qualified immunity. Because when we talk about reparations, a lot of people just think it's just money, it's just money, it's just money. No, it's money, it's rights, it's benefits, and it's support, right? And a lot of times when you look at reparations, I say, oh, it's similar, not exact, as what the Native Americans are getting or what they have been given, right? When it comes to the amount of millions of acres of land that they receive in this country. And I'm not stating that they don't deserve it. So don't get my words crossed. I'm not stating that. But that's similar to what reparations, because a lot of land has been lost. A lot of land have been stolen from Black Americans and not money's repaid. And some people will state, well, the reason why a lot of these Black Americans' lands were, taken from the government and redistribute is because they couldn't pay the taxes. Well, if you would have gave what is owed, which is a debt to Black Americans in the form of reparations, they probably would have had the money to pay those so-called taxes. But nobody never brings that up. They keep stating that slavery and these Jim Crow and all these things happened so long ago, which is false. Because no one knows the effects of oppressing the people for 400 years, how long those people should be oppressed. There's no study. Okay, there's no experiment on the face of the earth to state what occurred to our family for as long as it was occurred to, that those oppressions and suppressions was put upon our people, how long those effects would be. No one knows that. No one knows that. And then we are handled these very symbolic, idiotal, word power pieces, promises from political parties, and we all go out and vote. And then we're happy for that time that our candidate won. And then we get off our high horse and we come back to our reality and realize that we are in the same position that we was prior to getting on the Democratic train, prior to getting on the Republican train.
Now, that's the first thing we must do. Get rid of sanctuary policies. Then we also must close that border, because what that border does is allow the illegals to come here. Third, we have to put tariffs on products that have now been produced by companies that decided to leave the country rather than pay fair and just American wages. So like Trump said, if this car company left and went to Mexico, we're going to put 100% tariff on them. And then they stayed here. That's what we have to do. For instance, Brock's Candy, which was a huge factory right here in my neighborhood, they left and went to Mexico. I don't eat any Brock's. Now, I refuse to eat a peppermint, anything made by them, because they decided to leave my people illegal to go give some jobs to people who don't deserve them more than we do. So those are my three things. Get rid of sanctuary cities, close the border, and make sure that the people who are working are supposed to be working E-verified. And tariffs, definitely lots of tariffs. So 4 things.
It's funny. So with those 4 things or 3 things she was stating, family, I agree with her 100%. And this is why I say there's some of her responses and answers, they were contrasting and for me that I didn't agree on. But the reason why for a particular setting, one is an interview. So I didn't call Miss P Rae Easley on the platform to have a debate, if that makes sense. An interview and a debate is very, very different. And I know sometimes you see news anchors get on here, and believe me, I'm not a so-called professional journalist, but I do have some damn decorum. I do have decorum. If I call you on and it's a debate, I'm gonna say this is going to be opposing reviews, and I'm going to debate and refute probably most of the things you have to say. The most thing I said to her family is I'm going to challenge some of the things. Now, some people may say that can be considered debate, but no, I'm not going to be to the point where we're going back and forth on a particular topic and then move on. No, it was an interview, family. That's what we have to remember. But on those points, I totally agree with her, okay? Because I do believe in bringing jobs back to America. And if not, you think you want to go get cheap labor elsewhere, then you're going to be paying the price for that as well. I think we're getting to the section of, I agree with those 3 things that you stated versus the next topic we were going to get into as far as when it comes to your admiration of Donald Trump,
Mhm.
because you have a strong stance on Donald Trump,
Yes.
advocating for Black Americans to actually vote for him.
Mhm.
So, can you explain why you believe Trump is the best candidate for Black Americans and as a country as a whole?
Yes, firstly, the Negro is 100% American. So anybody who is America first is Negro first, because this is our country. Everything here is for us and us first, from sea to shining sea. We are as American as sweet potato pie, not apple pie, because we got our own pie, which is an American pie, and it belongs to us. So because he's America first, that's us. Secondly, he takes the safety and security of our country very seriously. In my own family, Operation Legend, which was a federal initiative that sent federal law enforcement to help local municipalities dismantle criminal organizations and solve crimes, that initiative came to the West Side and solved 3 murders in my family. Mine, 2 first cousins and a third cousin, okay?
Okay, this is one of the points that a lot of people were talking about, that it solved these 3 murders in her family, as well as I believe 17 in her neighborhood. And I was hearing what you guys were saying in the comments, stating that that's a very small population that Donald Trump supposedly have done for people. And I'm not gonna lie, family, I didn't go do the research. I just had the tendency of all the things I researched, I tend to agree with your stating when you're saying, hey, yeah, he might have done something for a particular small amount of Black people. There's nothing has been revolutionary to assist Black people when it comes to justice. So I get that stance. Now, again, a lot of times when people vote, it's a personal choice, right? And so a lot of people are going to the vote on the personal experiences or influences or things that have occurred in their life. So again, family, I disagree with this on the point of voting for Donald Trump. Totally disagree. But I can understand her stance and respect it, though.
We never thought that we were going to get justice. We thought that our people were just going to be regular, another Chicago tragedy. And Donald Trump sent those federal resources here to give us justice. And not only did we get justice, but there were 17 other murders on that indictment. So 17 other families got the justice that the city of Chicago did not want to give to us, that they didn't even, I believe, try to give to us, because they completely threw my people away because these were street gang incidents. Okay. He took them seriously. He said that those lives matter too, and that's why we're going to vote for him. We also are going to vote for him again because he's going to close that border. By closing that border, it's going to reduce the amount of street crime that we have, because that open border has made the west side of Chicago the epicenter of the cartels, all of them. We are the distribution point of 90% of the heroin in this country is trafficked right here off the expressway by my house, 290, that they call the heroin highway. They got fentanyl, they're trafficking bodies, there's pimping, it's killing, because not only are they shipping drugs, they're shipping guns, and not pistols. I'm talking about AK-47s, military grade stuff is being trafficked to my community by these international criminal organizations. All of that.
Some may argue with the high rate of percentage of violence in Chicago with automatic weapons. Just to kind of, I guess, bring an example to point, is that the violence in Chicago is already sky high. So are illegal immigrants making a significant change in that as well?
Yeah, so firstly, we have to understand that crime was not always super high like this. Yes, they're bringing crime here. They're bringing guns. They're bringing fentanyl. They're having knife fights. Illegal raped a woman in broad daylight on the sidewalk outside of the train on her college campus. Another one 2 days ago kidnapped a woman and her child. Okay, these people are off the chain. We don't have any IDs for them. They're going to jail because we're a no cash bail state. They don't even get to stay in jail.
I agree with her on some points is this as well, family. And again, don't get me wrong, where there's some strong points that I can see where Black Americans are idolizing Trump and voting for Trump and getting on the bandwagon of Trump. I'm just stating that we're coming to a breaking point where we keep jumping from one political party to another. Before Lyndon B. Johnson made, those backbroker deals of civil rights with Martin Luther King, majority of Black folk were Republicans, right? And we still have that mindset in some instances But a lot of times when you talk about liberals, a lot of people are from the dominant society, especially on the right, are speaking about black folk and people part of the LGBT community. When they talk about liberal folk, that's mostly what they're talking about, which is absolutely false. Now, if I did a poll, majority of people say they will want to run their own business. Yeah, there are some people who don't want to deal with the hassle of starting and owning their own business. They'd rather work for someone, but most people want to work for self because you can dictate and pinpoint your paycheck and how much you make. But needless to say, majority of our views have always been conservative. That necessarily doesn't mean you should vote Republican, but I'm just stating the obvious. So some of the points that the sister made, don't get me wrong, family, I agree. But to stance on Donald Trump, let me bring something else, I guess, about humility. This is about humility right here, family. Let me show you this.
April. Mr. President, will you apologize to Central Park 5? They've been exonerated. There have been videos, movies shown about the case, and you came out with a full-page ad saying that they should die, that they should have the death penalty.
Why do you bring that question up now? It's an interesting time to bring it up. You have people on both sides of that. They admitted their guilt. If you look at Linda Fairstein and if you look at some of the prosecutors, they think that the city should never have settled that case. So we'll leave it at that.
So the point of that very short clip is that Donald Trump never even apologized for his comments and claims of the Central Park 5, that they was exonerated because there was a serial killer who admitted to and had evidence of the actual killings. And then he comes out and say, oh, there were people was admitted things on both sides. So there's a form of humility that Donald Trump may not have that may not coincide with a lot of black folks. Like some people just want to hear you say, I apologize, even though they don't know you mean it. Some people just want to hear to see your words. Can you really, this barrier you have, this shell, this narcissistic barrier, can you just say you apologize? You don't have to mean it. He didn't even say it, family. Then I know some people say that that's petty. Some people will state that that's real petty. But there's different examples we can show about Donald Trump, right?
Pastor Mark Burns. Mark, where are you? Where's Mark Burns? He's a great guy. Good. These lights are so bright in my eyes that I can't see too many people out there. But I can only see the black ones. I can't see any white ones, you see? That's how far I've come. That's how far I've come. That's a long way, isn't it? We've all seen the mugshot. And you know who embraced it more than anybody else? The black population. It's incredible. You see black people walking around with my mugshot. You know, they do shirts and they sell them for $19 a piece. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, family. Even when people mark you in front of your face, if they're not offering you anything, then what's sufficient about your vote for Donald Trump? Because this keeps occurring to black Americans all the time. We are presented with two candidates, and then whatever candidate makes the other candidate look evil and mean and bad for us, then we tend to pick the other candidate, the one that doesn't look so mean and bad. So now that things are being revealed, quote unquote, they try to stop the woke, whatever. Black people are awakening from their slumber and noticing that the Democratic Party have done nothing but black folk, but lie to us. But now we're jumping on another train. Now we jump into another party who has never said they're going to do anything for black folk. But if we just jump on our own train and say, these are the things that we want before we vote for any candidate. But no, we have our personal experiences that will drive our decision, which is not wrong, family. Don't get me wrong. And this has nothing to do with P Rae Easley, what I'm stating here, but we have our own personal agendas when it comes to what candidate we vote for instead of voting as a voting block.
They're going to jail multiple times under multiple names. People are now starting to catch on to the trends. We have 8% of the murders. They only solve 6% of the shootings. It's like, oh, I'm going to give them $8 billion. And I'm like, where was that $8 billion when Morris Brown needed it? Where was, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Sounds like desperation.
Yes, that's exactly what's going on. So the fact that Donald Trump directly invested into HBCUs, and I'm an HBCU grad, shout out to Hampton University, the better HU. I went there on a full academic scholarship. So for me, federal funding for HBCUs matter. Most of all, we educate the overall majority of Negro professionals in this country. Number one, that's what he did for us directly. Number two, we had the Platinum Plan. And then people let Chucks and Pearls trick them out of $500 billion for $1,200 stimulus checks that Trump made them give us because Joe was only trying to give us $6. You see, so it's just annoying in a way. Not that you're annoying.
Now, of course, I agree with money to HBCUs, right? Even though there's a lot of non-Black people going to HBCUs, but significantly, majority of HBCUs have, of course, Black people. Now, when it comes to her stance on Trump and the Platinum Plan, family, we covered the Platinum Plan right here on Blacklogic, and we didn't read anything significant that was going to support, help, and provide the debt that's owed to foundational Black Americans. We didn't read anything in the Platinum Plan. We read the Platinum Plan. We read the Lift All Plan. We read the Lift Every Voice Plan by Joe Biden. And then they do all of these sort of like racial terminologies, the Platinum Plan. Like, and people was relating that to platinum gold, and it came out with the tennis shoes that Donald Trump just did, to gold tennis shoes, and like, oh, they made that for Black people. And then he stated, oh, Black people was wearing my mug shot. Oh, they can closely identify with that. Family, it don't matter what party. There's always some hidden agenda and racial tropes and undermining of Black folk, where no president hopeful came out and stated, Black Americans, I'm writing into law cash payment reparations for starters. I'm going to weaken qualified or revoke qualified immunity where police officers have to get their own insurance. So when they kill people unjustly and unarmed, they don't have that protection from the federal law. 2 things, 3 things. The land that was stolen, we're going to give it back to foundational Black Americans. The land that was tricked because of false tax claims, we're going to give that back to Black Americans. Those 3 things, family, everybody's in line. 50 Black Americans, 50 foundational Black Americans are all in line to vote for that candidate because it's about being restored. We will never be where we're supposed to be if we're always voting for trinkets, if we're always voting for crumbs. That is what this is about. And the fight may be longer than what some of us can suffice our life. But this battle must go on because we must be restored. See, I think the system of white supremacy understands that if Black folks get on one accord and we get this reparations money, America is going to be, we're going to make America pop more even so. But the problem is we're going to be in charge. We're going to be the ones who are part of major businesses. Because family, the history of America, the only thing you have to do is go back and understand 5 to 10% of your history. If you understood all the things that we built from the ground up, let alone even in an oppressed state, we still had millionaires. But then if I go back and I showed you all of the inventions, some of the inventions you already know that are very popularized, and some inventions, you're like, wow, I didn't know a Black person made that. I didn't know they invented that. I didn't know they innovated that. I don't know they created and founded that. You would never know. You would never know. Till this day, family, after looking at that interview with Terrence Howard and Joe Rogan, the entire AR, VR industry is written and built off a patent that Terrence Howard got patent over 20 years ago. I want you to think about that. So when we look at the achievements of Black folks, Foundation of Black Americans in this country, family, from Mark Dean working at IBM and creating the color monitor. Look down at your phone. It's a color monitor. Look at your computer screen. It's a color monitor. A Black American invented that, as well as the gigahertz chip. That's just one man. I can continue on to name a bunch of inventors that we've done. So when people don't think that we've contributed to America, no, we contribute to the entire world. And we did these things in an oppressive state that helped humanity. So you can't, on one hand, appreciate the inventions and innovations that Black Americans have done and not pay what you owe. So no, I'm not jumping on the Donald Trump train. No, I'm not jumping on the Jim Crow Joe train. I'm jumping on the Black empowerment train for reparations. We have all of these attacks coming from all sides, whether it be illegal immigrants, anchor babies, and tethers, and people from the white supremacy society, all attacking Foundation of Black Americans. We got. Nellie Fuller told us a long time ago, we have no friends. So people come to us with an open basket, with open arms, just for a short time. And then when you look in that basket after the election, ain't shit in it, ain't nothing in it. It's totally empty. So family, my opposing views of the interview is just a part about Donald Trump. A lot of points she made about policies and certain actions, I totally agree. When it comes to immigration, I totally agree. But I think I would be compromising myself and contradicting myself if I went out and voted for someone who was not going to enact policies and legislations. And let's not even forget about a hate crime bill for Foundation of Black Americans. Okay. There's some major things that we need in a reparations package: cash payments, revoking or decreasing the amount of authority and power that qualified immunity have, creating, making Foundation of Black Americans a protected class. Some people are even considering no taxes, land grants and lost land. And as I stated before, very similar to what the Native Americans are receiving. So this conversation goes on and on and on, family. Because I stated before, interviews, I respect those. You have to respect the host that you bring on, and by challenging them to a point where it's not a debate. Because I may have the sister on again, but I don't think I will be ever in debate, because I understand people's stance from a singular perspective that they believe that may help the entire community. I get that. And that's not delusional. Don't get me wrong. That doesn't mean that's delusional, because it may just do that. But again, I think this is the part where it's difficult, because we kind of divide our power because of our own personal and sometimes community-based ideology, where some of us are looking at us as a nation state, right? A lot of people are voting on self and their immediate environment, but our power is in unification. Our power is in unity to change policies and legislations and get things signed for us that are actual tangibles. The unification model. And that's why a lot of people are putting up banners like this, Couch 2024. And there's a lot of Black Americans coming out and trying to shoot that down and tell others how stupid that is, how that slogan reminds me of, what's the old fella name out of South Carolina? What's his name? I was about to say James Earl Jones. No, Clyburn. Senator Clyburn, Congressman Clyburn. And he says sloganizing kills. No, it doesn't. Sloganizing doesn't kill. Not paying what you owe kills. So, family, that's pretty much it, family. I just kind of want to do a review of that, because I think a lot of times when hosts and platforms invite people on and we don't disagree with them on camera, we allow them to promote and to say essentially just answering certain questions, that we agree with their views. And that's not always the case. And a lot of times that's probably 50-50 depending on what platform. But a lot of times you invite people on to get their perspective, to see where they're coming from, to respect opposing views, to stretch yourself intellectually. That doesn't mean that you're compromising yourself, especially if you stand on principles. Okay? But when you invite somebody on when it comes to interviewing, it's showing a level of decorum and respect because of the invitation, right? And so you can also, as I did, stretch and challenge the conversation slightly to the point where the host is still comfortable. So again, I read your comments, totally understand. There's a lot of people say they're on the board for Trump. And family, this is not on me to encourage you not to vote, but I'm just telling you where I stand when it comes to interviews. But yeah, very powerful session, family. I thank you all for joining me here this early afternoon. And I know some of you probably cooking out. It's Memorial Day. A lot of you probably not. Now, I'm not going to get into it. I'm not going to get into why you may not know why you're celebrating, but I'm going to get into it. I know why a lot of people are celebrating, but needless to say, that's all I have for you guys. You guys have a great and wonderful Monday. I'll talk to you guys on the next. Be one.